Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to show you a really easy way to do a bright bold picture, a bit like this one. Can you see? Of Bristol. Just using, hopefully, just things you've got in your house. So I don't want you to go outside the house and go try and find stuff. Just have a rummage in your cupboards and see what you've got. I'm going to do it in easy to follow stages. And at the end of each stage, I'll hold up a sign like this. Okay, so then you can pause the video, do the stage, let it dry, and then carry on. And what I'm hoping is when everybody's had a go at this, if they wanted to send me a photo of what they've done, and then I was hopefully going to put all your different paintings on my Facebook page. We can have like an online gallery, which should be quite nice. Anyway, so first of all, what you need is, what you need is first of all something to paint on. Now, I've got loads of canvases at home, which I'm going to use, but I expect you won't have canvases lying around. So instead, you could paint on a bit of old board. This has just got a couple of coats of emulsion on, so that'd be quite good. Or a bit of card, if you've got any, that's also quite good. Back of a cornflake packet. What I probably wouldn't use is thin paper, because that might go soggy. But anything else that is like thick card would be absolutely fine. Doesn't matter what size or shape. Then paint. So I've got millions of paints at home, and I use just acrylics like this, but you could use poster paint, any old kiddie paint, even like old sample pots in your cupboard. Have a look what you've got. I'm going to use bright colours, and I've chosen about 5 or 6 bright bold colours, just so see what you've got. Right, brushes. Now my brushes are in an absolute right old state. You don't need posh brushes. Just see what you've got in the house. I'm just going to use about 3 different sizes, but I mean, if you don't even have brushes in your house, you could use your finger. Like I use my finger, and that's why my fingernails are completely ruined all the time. The next thing you're going to need is, we're going to do a bit of collage, and I collect old magazines and newspapers, so have a look in your recycling box. My lovely friend Claire always saves me loads of really nice magazines. So, I mean, you could just use leaflets you get through your door, pizza menus, anything, doesn't matter. Even if you've got just old newspapers with no pictures, that doesn't matter. Right, what else do you need? Oh, scissors to cut out collage, and glue. If you haven't got PVA glue, it doesn't matter. Have a look in your drawer. You might have a bit of Pritt stick. I suppose you could even use wood glue if that's all you've got. And if you don't want to do collage, also that's absolutely fine. What else do you need? Pot of water to wash your brushes in. And a big pot's quite handy because the water gets dirty really quickly. A cloth. I always have a handy cloth in case I spill anything. This, I think, actually was an old school top. So if you've got any of those lying around, or kitchen towel, obviously not toilet paper because that's worth about £1 million. And then you need something to put the paint in. And I go to supermarkets and nick these. These are the sorts of thing that they put yoghurt pots and cream in on the shelves. Supermarkets are usually really glad to get rid of them. If you haven't got these, or you don't want to go into a supermarket, then you could just use saucers out your cupboard. Sometimes I get a large piece of foil and wrap it around a dinner plate and make little wells that I can put paint into. So that's also quite good. That'll be okay. And that is about it. So I'm just going to put up, if you want to screenshot or pause the video on this list, this is the list of things you need. So I'll leave you to go get that now. So after I've put the list up, pause the video. Okay, so apologies for how amateur this video is. I've got a comedy setup with a phone hanging off a stepladder above my head, but you get the basic idea. So this is what we're aiming for. I'm hoping that all of you do something a little bit different with different colours, different patterns, but this is the real basic plan. Right, first thing, so you should have your paint squirted in, well, anything, saucers, this sort of thing, pot of water. I've got my cloth handy, I've got my really battered old brushes ready. There we go, in a right old state. And first thing we're going to do is completely cover the whole of the board in paint. And it doesn't matter how you do this. I am going to just start with a bit of pink, and I'm just gonna, there we go. I'm applying it in blobs. You could do circles, squares, I mean, any way you like. There we go, bit of that, bit of that. I'm going to change colour. So washing my brush, bit of blue, there we go. You can see just how little thought is going into this. And if you merge colours, fine, doesn't matter. Do whatever you like. There we are, wash the brush. Bit of red. Oops, a bit watery. There we go. That's it. And I'm going to carry on doing the whole canvas in random splats of paint. So don't worry too much about it looking messy at this stage. When I've completely finished this, sometimes I choose to flick paint onto the surface, and I'll show you. Usually I do this when I've finished, but I'll show you now just so you get the idea. So I'm watering a bit of white, or choose any colour really. I'm watering it down so that it's a bit like runny ink, and then you can like splat paint like that or flick it on. Usually I wait until the surface is dry to do this stage, but I'm just showing you now so you can get on with it. So what you should end up with is the entire canvas covered in loads of patches of colours, as bright as you like. Right, okay, so you can pause the video and get on with that. Right, so what you should now have is your whole board covered in really bright colours. I've splatted a few little splats, but you don't have to do that. You could do a bit later anyway. And if you're painting on a canvas, I've also, I don't know if you can see this, painted down the sides as well so it can hang straight on the wall. Right, next bit is collage. So what I've done is I've just gone through any old magazine and cut out any picture that caught my eye, whether it's a pattern, a colour I liked, a nice face, Ronan Keating. Don't know why I cut that out. I also really like going through the property sections of magazines and cutting out little buildings. And on this side of the painting is going to be Bristol buildings. So I'm going to cut out a few of those to stick down, like that maybe. In the sky will be hot air balloons, so you might want a few hot air balloons with funny patterns in, like that. Over here, a bit of Lee Wood, so I mean it doesn't have to be anything to do with woodland, but I've got a picture of a tree. I think that's a toad. There we go. So what we're next going to do is just stick down the collage and then blend it in. Now I've got my craft glue, PVA glue, and all I'm going to do is with one of my manky brushes is glue the collage on, and I just very simply paint the back, or if you're using Pritt Stick you just smear it on the back. And if you are using PVA glue, I always sort of try and paint the top and smooth it down. Now it might well dry and go a bit wrinkly. Who cares? Nobody cares. It just adds a bit of texture. There we go, it's starting to go a bit wrinkly anyway. Might be easy with the fingers. That's it. Another building. There we go. You do get a bit messy with this. About there. That'll do. That's it. Smooth it a bit with your fingers. So yeah, you can place anything you like, anywhere you like, and then leave it to properly dry. I forgot to mention earlier that when I'm trying to hurry things up and dry them quickly, I sometimes just blast a hairdryer at them if you're feeling impatient. But to be honest, we all seem to have a lot more time on our hands now. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is now you can pause the video and get cutting and sticking. Right, so hopefully you will now have colourful board with random things stuck on top. Don't have to be random, but I've chosen totally random pictures, like words, buildings, faces, a fish. This is I quite like that one. Have a cake and a cuppa. I think that should be everyone's mantra at the moment. Now, what we're going to do next is blend the collage into the background. You don't have to do this, but I quite like getting the collage slightly less obvious into the picture. And all you need to do is get your paints ready, and we're going to have I've got quite a wet brush, so it's quite watery, and I'm just going to, where there's sort of maybe pinky bits underneath, paint over them. So what you're doing is just adding a little bit of a top layer, and it might be that you start to hide some of the collage. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. So where there's pink underneath the collage, I'm just, there we go, probably a bit of there, a bit of there. That's it. Oops. There we go. That's nice and bright. Okay, so that's pink. Wash my brush. Bit of watery blue, so maybe a bit of blue there. Oops, it's quite thick. Bit of blue there, bit of blue. And if you do start to hide the collage underneath, it really doesn't matter. It's just, the collage is there just to add a little bit of interest and make people look at your picture and go, ooh, what's that? Ooh, Ronan Keating. There we go. So you carry on blending in your collage until it's all being covered with a little light coating of paint. Okay, you don't have to, but I quite like blending it all in. Right then, okay, get ready. Pause the video and I'll see you in a sec. Right then, so what you will hopefully now have is colourful board with collage that's been kind of blended in. And again, if you didn't want to do that, that's totally fine. Next stage, we are going to draw the outline of the landscape or composition onto the canvas. And just to make it clear, this is roughly what it's going to look like. So you might want to, rewind the video in a little minute and just pause it at this point. This is the template that we roughly going to follow. And I mean, I've drawn this out millions of times, and so you know, I don't find it too difficult, but these are quite fiddly, and you know, you might do your balloons wonky, doesn't matter. These boats, I mean, they're really basic. You could make up your own boat shapes. I mean, this is supposed to be SS Great Britain. It's basically a dodgy looking banana with like sticks sticking out. So do not worry about the detail of any of this. Just do rough wonky balloons, rough boat shapes, and then some pieces of land. So what I'll do is I'm going to just use, I use a chalk pen, which you probably won't have at home, or a chalk pencil. Again, probably don't have that at home. What you could do is, you could, I suppose, use a biro or a pencil or a crayon or felt tip pen, anything that leaves a very slight mark on the canvas. So so it's very clear. I'm going to just, that's a bit of land, and then that's the river. Oops, just need to go over it a little bit. Benefit of chalk pens is you can kind of lick it and rub it out if you make a mistake, but you probably don't have it at home. So just anything that makes a very fine mark. I'm going to do the 2 towers of the suspension bridge. There we go. See, I'm not really spending too much time on any of it. Then a few hot air balloons in the sky. Oh, there we go. Random places and random sizes. There we go, nice big one. But if your balloons are wonky, no one cares. In fact, it's beyond more interesting if they're wonky. I think those just aren't wonky enough. Right, and then boats. Here we go. Should we do a SS Great Britain at the bottom here? Is a funnel, some masts sticking up. Here we go. I mean, do not spend hours doing this. Just spend a few seconds. You could even do sort of sailing boats with sails, totally up to you. There you go. So that is the rough layout of your landscape. So I'm going to pause the video and let you have a little go. As I say, you need a biro or pen or anything that will leave a little mark on the surface of your canvas. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to draw out a very rough outline onto your canvas. Next thing I'm going to do is paint in the sky. Now you can choose any colour for your sky. It doesn't have to be blue, it could be yellow, purple, brown, black if you want to do a nighttime sky. Just to make it really clear, I'm going to choose white because it will show up really clearly against the bright colours. And what I'm going to do is just paint around the bridge and balloon shapes so that the balloons keep the original base colours and the bridge, and I'm just going to paint in between. Now if you think, oh god, that's just too fiddly, it cannot be bothered, paint the whole sky one colour, then you could just cut out balloon shapes from a magazine and stick them back on. Totally up to you. So whatever you have the patience for. So I'm going to just paint. There we go, paint around the balloons. Now, depending on what paint you use, this is quite opaque, but if you're using just sort of, I don't know, poster paints or kiddie paint, it might be slightly watery and you might have to do several layers to make the shape show. And if you can't bother, just don't bother. There we go, so if you can see, so I'm going to leave you to get on with that. So I'm going to paint all the way around the balloon shapes and all the way around the bridge. I'm also going to paint, I'll do this a bit later, but paint under the bridge, and that will really show out the balloon shapes. Then I'll leave that for a second and finish in a minute. I'm also going to do the same but in the river. Now I don't know what colour you want to choose the river. The river in real life is brown, so you could do brown, but I reckon I'm just going to do probably blue. It's never blue. Who cares? You could do purple, pink. So again, I'm going to paint the river, but paint around the boat shapes and leave the boat shapes there. Now, if you can't be bothered, again, paint the whole river one colour and stick boat shapes on after if you wanted to. You could also, you don't have to do the river all one colour, you could do stripes in the river. I think, did I do that? Yes, vaguely, you can't really see. I did a few stripes in that river, but you can't see it too well. So I'm going to leave you to paint in the sky, paint in the river, and then I'll see you in a minute. So we are nearly there. So I have speed painted my river, not very well, it's a bit blobby, and my sky. So you can see it all stands out a bit now. The next and final stage is the detail, only if you want to. Now, there are so many things you could do at this stage, and I'm hoping you'll have a go at lots and lots of different ones, so everybody ends up with a slightly different picture. Now, you could, if you wanted to, you know, glue a bit of glitter on, make it twinkly, the twinkly lights of the city. You could stick sequins on or buttons. You could paint more details. You could stick more collage on. I know somebody who had a go at this and they stuck little pictures of their family dotted around. I'm going to draw little bits of detail on, and usually what I use are Posca pens. Now, I imagine you will not have these. You get these from art shops and they are fine pens that produce a nice opaque line, but you will probably not have those. So you could use Sharpies, you could use felt tips, you could even paint fine lines if you wanted to. And all I'm going to do is draw on some trees and odd little windows for the buildings, and it just adds a bit of detail. Now, I usually do this with quite fine lines, but just so you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to use my big chalk pen, and I'm going to just, I do love, there we go, I do love lollipop trees. There we are. Another lollipop tree. If you wanted to, you could do some really precise actual Bristol landmarks, but just to illustrate what I mean, so I'm going to do a few little windows as if there were little buildings, again randomly placed. There we go. Doesn't really matter. What about another little window there? Over here I'm going to do a few more trees. There we go. Another tree there. That's it. Doing this so quickly just to show you. Anyway, so you could do whatever you want at this stage. It's totally up to you. I'm also going to do a few little portholes in the boats. You could write something on the SS Great Britain if you've got the SS Great Britain. You could write words if you wanted to. Yeah, go for it. Anything you can think of. You could do all of the things I've suggested, just to make it more interesting. So see what you come up with, and I'll be back in a sec with my finished painting. See you in a minute. Okay, so this is my final picture with detail on. I must admit, I haven't gone overboard with detail. I'm not sure if you can see some of it because it's quite fine. Let me see if you can. There we go. A few trees, a few windows. What I am hoping is that a lot of you go totally overboard and plaster yours with sequins, buttons, paint splats. Go for it. Now, the final thing you need to do with your picture, sign your name. I just put Jen because my name's a nightmare to write. So I just put Jen in the corner. And also, if you have any, or probably, well, I imagine you probably don't have this at home, but in a few months when we're allowed out again and go shopping, I spray my paintings in a varnish, and you can get spray varnish online in art shops, and that just protects your painting and gives it quite a nice shine. So that's what I'm going to do in a minute. Now, I would really love to see your attempts at this picture, and I'm hoping that you do some really amazing and different ones. And if you can bear to, if you could share your picture with me, I'd love to see it. And if I'm allowed to put it on social media, that would be fantastic. So send it by email or visit my Facebook page, Jenny Urquhart Art. I'm on Twitter at Jenny Urquhart and Instagram at Jenny Urquhart. So I hope you've enjoyed doing it. Please share the video with anybody you like, because I think apart from NHS health workers and key workers, there's going to be a lot of bored people out there, and it looks like we have quite a few weeks to fill. So yeah, hope you had fun and see you soon.